Okay. Well, we can kind of kick things off. It's Wednesday. I can't believe it's Wednesday, February 16th. I can't believe I'm saying that because I feel like I was just with y'all a few weeks ago in Phoenix and it was January still. Always love having you guys at our live events. Just so y'all know, if you weren't able to make it, Lifecycle Insights did a fantastic pre-day with us at our Q1 live event.
That was a blast.
Yep. And we're looking forward to having y'all at Q2 in Dallas. It's going to be a good time. So if anybody's interested, make sure to reach out to Alex or I, and we can make sure to get you some tickets so you guys can attend that. But yes, welcome everybody. It is Wednesday, February 16th. Super excited to be here. Have Alex Farling over here from Lifecycle Insights. Always enjoy talking to you, Alex. What is our topic of discussion for today?
As luck would have it, we're going to talk about quarterly business reviews, something I know just a little bit about. So
just a little bit.
But we'll address the elephant in the room first. If you guys see that my shirt looks like it's see-through, it really is. The guys at Fin Security were nice enough to send me this cool shirt, and then I realized it's the exact same color as my virtual background. So it does really neat stuff. So if you get distracted by that's what that is. But so yeah, we're going to talk about quarterly business reviews today because like everybody needs to be doing them, and most folks are doing them wrong if they're doing them at all. And so we're just really trying to help everybody with some best practices.
Awesome. Yeah, always love talking to you guys about QBRs. You know, that's something that, as most of you know, we highlight in the 7-figure MSP Elite program. We work very closely with Lifecycle Insights, talking about those QBRs, making sure you guys are going in there, having those discussions with your clients, and there couldn't be a better tool that I can think of. Most of y'all that know, right? I mean, I tell you this all the time. Like, I'm not the most technical person on the planet. I've been in the channel for a long time, but the thing I like about Lifecycle Insights reporting is like, even I can take a look at it and I have a pretty good idea of what's going on in the network, you know?
That's the goal. Bring it down to English.
Yeah, I love it.
Those are the tough conversations that everybody has because we like to talk about, petaflops and gigabytes and fancy things like SSDs, and our customers just don't care, right? All they care about is how it impacts their business. Are we keeping them safe and letting them sleep well at night? So, that's the big thing that we get into. Before we get started, I know a whole bunch of you in here, so I'll make it a quick intro because most of you probably know me as well. But I'm one of the co-founders at Lifecycle Insights. Like you guys, I ran an MSP for a long time, 16 and a half years. Sold it about a year and a half ago as Lifecycle Insights was ramping up and really needed more of my attention. So, I've been where you're at. I've been in the trenches. I was more of a sales guy than a technical guy when I owned my company. So this was client success and quarterly business reviews were a big part of that and how we grew the company through referrals and just selling deeper into our client base. When I started building the tool, I started talking to more MSPs and refining the skill set a little more. And over the last about 2.5 years or so that we've been working on this project, we've helped over 500 MSPs improve this process. So that's a nice little milestone that we've just recently hit here. Super excited about it. And so today we're going to talk about what does a good QBR look like. And the ones we're talking about today are better than the ones I gave at my MSP 2 years ago, just because we've had the input from 500 MSPs who said, hey, one thing I do that really works well, and we just get to keep collecting those up and building a better and better answer for our clients all the time. So we'll talk about what it looks like. We'll talk about how to build it. And then we'll talk about how automation can save you time and allow you to deliver this in a real repeatable process. So, the trick, we do everything else in the MSP and automation. In fact, I had a sign over my desk at my MSP that said, if you have to do it twice, automate it. And then I did QBRs by hand. Yeah, I hated it. It made me cuss a lot. But once we figured out that we could save all this time by automating some of the QBR process, life really got easier for me and for everybody involved.
Nice.
So I first like to talk about kind of where we're going from. And even in my QBR, I start my customers off with, this is your status quo. If we do nothing different, if we change nothing, this is the risk and exposure you have to live with. This is the risk sandwich you get to eat if we don't do anything different, right? Well, with QBRs, I want to start kind of where the status quo really is, because they weren't even something that the average MSP was doing in 2008, 2009, 2010, which is about the time I converted to managed services. But as the world was converting to managed services and they started to do 75, 85, 90% of their work remote, they lost their relationships with their customers. right? We used to walk down the hallway and go, knock, knock. Hey, I was just in the building and thought I'd say hello. When was the last time you picked up the phone and said, hey, Mr. Customer, I was just doing a ticket for the person in the office next door to you, and I just wanted to say hello. It just doesn't happen anymore, right? So we get way fewer interactions with our customers. And what really happened was we lost all that kind of ability to pop in the VIP office and make sure they were having a good day. And we really replaced that with, I can close a ticket quickly remotely and move on to the next thing. To our clients, that was actually a loss. We thought we were doing something great for them because they didn't have to wait for support. They didn't have to wait for service, but they lost their relationship with our customer, with us. And when we went back to the big vendors and said, hey man, I've bought all this licensing for your product and everything, and now my customers seem to hate me. What do I do? And, their response to us was, well, you got to do a QBR. But what was their answer for a QBR? Because we didn't know what we were doing. They said, you got to go back and meet with your customer and justify your existence.
Yeah.
The worst thing you could ever tell someone who delivers value.
Yeah, no, I totally agree. And I think, I like what you're saying there, because it does have to be a continual discussion. QBRs, TBRs are great when you're starting things out, but it needs to be that continual discussion, because that's what's going to help you build the trust with the client, right?
Yeah, and we'll talk about that cycle of continuous improvement, right? And how the QBR fits into that. It's it's one of the clicks in the cogwheel that is the cycle of continuous improvement. So, as we went out and went out into the world and did our justify your invoicing QBR, our customer went, well, that was boring as hell. I'd like to never do that again. And so then we call them up and say, hey, it's time to do your next one. And they go, I'm really busy. I've got to do my hair. Like, there's other things I got to do. I'm just not going to be able to make that day. Well, how about next week? I'm busy that week too. Yeah, maybe in 2023. I don't know. It's not that important to me, right? And we hear this all the time. And when I ask my prospects and customers, what was the last meeting that you had with your customer, when they're telling you this? They said, well, I went in and showed them how many tickets we closed, and how many patches we patched, and how many viruses we antivirused, right? And none of this do your customers care about. So, what we really need to work on is the content, to make sure that our content does more than just justify our existence, but adds value to the client's business. And, at the end of the day, we really need to just take a step back and evaluate what we're doing, and say, hey, if I brought 5 people into the room to meet with, their CEO, their CFO, their COO, a couple of department heads, whatever, and those people cost them $50 a head. Hey, did I deliver $250 in my hour in front of that crowd? Or do I owe them a check back for the time that I wasted for those very expensive individuals? And I feel like we really need to take it that seriously, because if we don't, we're really just not doing a good job for our client. So with that said, like, we know what the status quo looked like for most folks, and some of the folks on this call are already using our product, so I know they're doing a better job than that. But let's talk about a couple of the key components of doing this really, really right. The first one is that agenda. And we'll give you guys a link to an agenda doc you can download and steal. If you're already in the platform, you can use the one that's in there. Our agenda steals very heavily from the level 10 meeting out of the EOS books, the traction books. And the real key point to it is, we send this over ahead of time. So instead of our customer saying, what the hell are we even going to talk about anyway? I didn't get any value out of the last one. Our agenda should show them the value. It should talk about cybersecurity. It should talk about risk. It should talk about risk management. It should talk about the things that are important to us. And then it should have a spot on it where we open up to our customer and let them talk about themselves. Because just like I love talking about my company, I'm proud of it. I'm proud of what we've built. Guess what? Your customer feels the same way. They want to talk about their company the same way you want to talk about yours. So we need to ask them, what's new and different in your industry? What's changed in your world in the last 6 to 12 months? What do you see changing in the next 6 to 12 months? Are you hiring people? Are you firing people? Are you merging with somebody? Are you buying a building? I went to a QBR one time. One of my customers said, oh yeah, we close on a new building in 2 weeks, and then I'll need you to get on that wiring project. And I went, I've scheduled projects out. I've scheduled projects out the next 3 months. How the hell do you think I'm going to wire this brand new building of yours? You couldn't have told me about that. And I was sending agendas and asking them, right? But this is a way that we try and head some of the stuff off at the pass and get ahead of it. Then it also lets us identify that customer who's going to have a pain point that they want to talk about that's going to derail our whole meeting, right? If they get to go, hey, you know what? My tech called in or my secretary called in and Randy was mean to her. I want to complain about Randy at the QBR. I want to talk about that topic, right? We're 2 weeks out now. We can go, wait, that's not worth waiting for. Let's get on the phone with our customer, squash that problem. And by the time we get to the QBR, we can stay on the important tactical forward-looking stuff.
Yeah.
So that's the agenda. The budget forecast is another big one. For most of our partners, this is a drop mic moment in front of their customer. Their customers never seen a full total cost of ownership budget for their technology. At best, they've seen this is when you need to replace your servers. This is when you need to replace your workstations. And that's kind of how it's broken out. But it doesn't include switches, firewalls, wireless access points, battery backups, the copier dude, the printer, or the security camera guy, the door access systems, the internet connected toaster. All of that stuff should be on your budget, right? Well, I used to joke with my customers that if it's fancier than a toaster and you plug it in, you should probably call me first.
Yeah,
and
absolutely.
Now I feel like toasters probably are internet connected, and we need to know about that too, right?
Probably.
I mean, how many people here have walked into your client's office and seen an Alexa sitting on the desk or some other smart device that is always listening and collecting data on your customer's corporate network?
Yeah, people don't think about that because,
these are the things we need to consider, right? And so the budget should not only manage the replacement of all of those devices, so you don't have a 27-year-old Alexa sitting on your desk collecting data, but so that we're aware of new purchases when they come in. We're talking total cost of ownership, not just that tiny little piece of the pie, and we're really giving our value across that entire conversation. And when we go to the CFO and say, hey, would you like a CSV export in Excel of your budget for the next 5 years? Guess what? You just made a friend. And that friend happens to sign every paycheck they send you, right?
Yeah.
We just made really great friends with the person who signed your check. And, I like to present a couple of budgets, but the 5-year budget really is the most eye-opening for your customer because you can go down the list and go, okay, next year your spend is about the same as this year. The year after it's up 2 or 3%. Here it goes up 44%. There's a big spike in your spend. We need to be ready for that, Mr. Customer. Do you want to talk about leasing for that year? Do you want to buy some stuff early so we don't have such a big hit in 1 year? Are you frugal enough you can save the money and put it away so that you don't wind up in a bad spot? But we really want to put that budget and use it to dangle out there. Hey, the big year's coming, the big year's coming, the big year's coming. The 17th time we've told them and we're finally there, it's easy to go, remember that thing we've talked about at every QBR for the last 17 quarters? It's that time. So let's go ahead and do that leasing thing we talked about, or go raid the savings bank, go break open your piggy bank, and let's go replace the stuff.
Right. And that's a harder conversation to have. It like asking for money is, hard most of the time for most people. But when you show up and you're like, okay, I need a $28,000 check for, all these laptops, they're really not going to like you for that.
And I always joke that I used to do it at my MSP. I'd go, knock, knock, surprise, here's an invoice, right? Because we never told them it's coming. And that makes you very unpopular. I had a, and he was a great customer, and he was kind of a mentor to me when I was a young business owner. But he was a good old redneck down in southern Delaware, and he says, "You come around here asking me for money like this again, I'm gonna take you out back and shoot you." And he had a shotgun rack in the back of his pickup truck. I think he was 2/3 serious. So we joked about it, and he nicely told me, "Hey, you're an ass. Stop doing this and help me plan a little better." Right. So now we have the tools to plan a little better. And the problem was back then we just didn't have the tools. We had all this data and no way to really pick it apart and analyze it. So we've built that and loaded it into the project. Not to say you can't do it yourself. Like Raj has been doing them himself, or was doing them himself for years. It just took him way too long, right?
And I love when you talk about Raj, because I think he's a really good example, because how much time was Raj spending on these QBRs before y'all started working with him?
10 to 12 hours each.
Per QBR, that's per client, right?
Yep.
Times however many clients we have. And since he's been working with y'all, I mean, he's called me almost crying a few times going, oh my gosh, I can actually do something else with my life.
Yeah.
Because I mean,
he spent a lot of time on that truck. So
I mean, how much time is it taking him now?
Right now he's down to 2 hours, right? And so if we can save you 10 hours a quarter per customer, which that is the high end, that's the gold standard. We're not going to save everybody that amount of time because most people aren't doing as quality a job by hand. So we're going to save you 4 or 5 hours for each one. Still a huge saving, even if you're only doing 10 customers, right? I could save you a week every quarter just doing 10 customers. So it's a huge shift. The next thing we like to display, and this is one of Chris's big things, is that risk assessment, right? And so now we're going to lead with the status quo. We've run a risk assessment. We know what you're up against. We know what pain you live with every day. We know what risk you live with every day. And this is just the status quo. If I change nothing, this is what you have to live with. And this is what it costs you on your budget to live with that status quo. And so as much as the risk assessment is about showing them where their risk lives, it's also about showing them what it costs just to stay in business, right? Just to do what they've always done. And now if we want better outcomes, we can talk about what it looks like to do something a little different. We're no longer running around asking for money, showing products and services. We're talking about, this is where you're at, where you are today, and this is how much that costs. If you want to talk about, pick the things on here you want to make better, we can talk about what it costs to improve them. But then we're talking about it from a business case, right? I want my secretary to not have to work overtime every billing period, right? I want my CFO to be able to balance the books from his place in Aruba, whatever. We can deliver technology solutions that enable the business, as opposed to going, I want you to have more gigabytes, spend money with me, right? They're way different conversations.
Absolutely. And I like to point out that if you can like take the project summary away, because I love the assessment summary. And this is what I was saying earlier, like we all drive cars, right? We know like green means go good. We know yellow means like, we probably need to halt a little bit. And we know red is bad, right?
Yep. I like to joke about the stoplight. I'm like, every 2-year-old knows what a stoplight means. So that means at least 3/4 of your C-level executives also know what that means.
Yes. And like we all took tests, standardized tests in school, right? We know like if you're looking at this one, their hardware score is 44. That's really bad.
Stinks,
right? Right. But we also look at like the regulatory compliance is at 83. Like they're doing pretty good in that area.
They're doing much better. Right. And it allows us to take a quarter and say, hey, this quarter, we're going to focus on hardware refreshes, or we're going to focus on, maybe getting your security up to where it needs to be, and in each of these, you're going to have some billable things that you need to do. You're going to have that situation where you've got to go bill the customer to buy a product or service or deploy something. And then you're going to have the freebies, which are just go roll out MFA everywhere because we've been too lazy to get it done, or because that one executive was pushing back and wouldn't let us do it. Go start doing your fish testing. That's probably already included in your offering, and they just haven't spent the time to help you with it. So some of these are free and easy, and just you say, hey, Mr. Customer, I'm going to need some of your time and to interrupt you a little bit, where others are, you need to spend money, and let your customer work with you to prioritize those.
Yep.
And if you're breaking their budget down a couple different ways, I like a 5-year budget and a 12-month budget. I can show you the 5-year budget so we know where the oh shit year lives, right?
Right.
You can also look at the 12-month budget and go, hey, you got a peak here and a valley here. What if we put a little project in this valley over here and kind of bring you up to what your regular spend is, and we'll get something checked off this list. And then we get to have a when conversation, right? When do we want to make that hardware score better, not if.
Yeah.
And there's a psychology to that of giving your client permission to say yes, and not floating that big no out in front of them with just going, hey, I need $25,000, please and thank you.
Yeah,
right?
that's
Their
always
immediate reaction to that is no, please get the hell out of here.
Yeah.
When you approach it with a when, the worst thing they're going to tell you is, I'm not ready for it yet. We need to hold off on that for a little bit.
Yeah.
And that's a different conversation.
Yeah, it absolutely is. And like I said, if you just show up and go, hey, I'm going to need $25,000, they're going to be like, they're going to say, we didn't budget for that. We don't have that. They're going to give you all, that's where you get the excuses, right?
And guess what? They're not going to want to come back to the next one, right? They feel like this is your opportunity to back them into a corner with a pile of invoices and make them pay their way out of the corner. Yep. And we've got to make sure that this thing stops feeling like a punitive engagement to your customer.
Absolutely.
So, but that does kind of lead us to a project summary or recommendation where we go to our project prospect and say, or to our customer and say, hey, look, there's some things that we've talked about that are deficient. And when you're ready to resolve them, this is about what each of these is going to cost. And you can give them a couple. Say, hey, to do that policy and procedure engagement might only be $500 on my labor and nothing else. There's a freebie over here to turn on MFA and 365. And then we've got this Windows 7 replacement project that has some significant cost to it. Then we flip back over to the budget and go, when would you like to start addressing these? And then kind of match them up in the budget where they fit. And it's no longer, and the beauty of it is now, since we've delivered the whole budget, I know when they have that $80,000 annual Salesforce renewal. And I'm not trying to sell them a new server the same month they're spending that other big spend, right? I didn't know about it, and I wasn't competing for that particular, invoice. But I'm competing for the same wallet share, right? They can only write so many checks. They can't run their account below zero. They're not the federal government. They can't just go print money. So I have this problem, which is they want all green with us, and they don't have unlimited funds. So we can help them kind of decide when and how to correct some of this. And, you guys are out there selling your new customers a full, complete package. Everything's wonderful. Everything's good. Your existing customers, you've got to reach back into them and harness some of this available cash. Chris likes to think there's somewhere between 30 and 50% of revenue left on the table back there. I just had a conversation with Dennis O'Connell from Taylor Business Groups, and he thinks it's 25 to 30%. But either one of those numbers is life-changing. I mean, if you think about it, if you've got $25,000 in MRR, another 7,500 bucks a month sitting out there just to be picked up. And heck, if you're at 50 grand, you're looking at 12.5 at a minimum sitting out there to be picked up. That's a lot. 12.5 monthly. That's 100 grand that should be in your pocket. That's not. So, if we look at what the true value of going back and having these conversations with our customer is, and the fact that we can slowly year over year just kind of up these invoices by getting a few more products and services deployed, there's a really great conversation to be had here. And we should finish that with the executive summary, because I know every one of you has been in at least 2 other meetings this morning, and you have at least 2 other meetings this afternoon, right? And your customer is no different. Nowadays, the way we run a business is we go from meeting to meeting to meeting to meeting. If you start doing your QBRs, you'll do even more meetings. So what we want to do is wrap this thing up, right? We covered a bunch of content. Some of it's foreign to our customers and not always comfortable. So we want to wrap it up with an executive summary that says, hey, you know what? If you forget everything else we talked about today, and I'm hoping you don't, but I know you're busy and I know you're going to leave right out of this meeting, close out of this and launch into another one and into another one. And that plays with your ability to properly recollect everything we talked about. I want to leave you this executive summary. And this is the one page that, if you remember nothing else, here's the 3 things we wanted to cover next quarter. Here's kind of what we agreed to do. And this is the direction that we're going. Here's the risks I want you to tackle, and here's the impact they have on your business. So those are 5 components I think belong in every strategic business review. I think that there's a lot of conversation to be had around the reports that go what I call below the fold: your user list, your asset list, your ticket reports, your breach security reports, all of that kind of stuff. There's room for all of that. Depending on who you are, you'll put those in different places and work them through your talk track where they fit your personality, and that's okay. But I think these are some cornerstones that really belong in every single business review. So once we know all the pieces, and Lisa stole my thunder on our repetitive iterative improvement process, but here
I just want to clarify. So we're going to discover asses report.
yeah, that's a true story.
Okay.
That's actually assess, but
so I know I gave that joke to Marnie, and she thought I freaked her out a little bit because she was like, "Oh my gosh, do I need to change it?" And I said, "No, I was just joking." But so what we have here is the normal cycle of iterative cycle of IT improvement, right? We discover what our problems are, we assess what we can do about it, we provide some kind of a report to management, we remediate the problem, we verify that our remediation worked, and then we start our discovery all over again, right? And sometime between discovery and assess and doing all the rest of the work, what we're discovering on has changed, the network has changed, everything's been patched, new vulnerabilities show up, all that kind of stuff. So on the left-hand side are 3 components that lead to or are kind of included in the QBR. You have doing your discovery. This is all your scans. This is talking to your humans. How's technology helping you? How is it enabling you? What's changed in your business? What if your technology is painful for you today, right? And taking all that back and really building it into something, running it through our assessment platform, building out the budgets and all of that. And then the report really is to present to your client the results and help and allow them to work with you to evaluate which risks their business is willing to hang on to, and which risks they want to pay to make them go away, right? And so we kind of have this deliver the report conversation, figure out what we're going to do to change it. Then we move into that fix according to risk. They buy into those recommendations and remediations. We're out of the QBR by this point. We remediate. We kind of watch the network for a little longer, let our scans and tools and do their things before we go discover and start all over. So the left side here is what's contained in your QBR. The right side over here are the pieces that kind of lead to and from it. But that's one thing I like to also point out here with that is something that you talked about at the Q1 live event is looking at the human factor, right? And making sure that you guys are assessing that, right? I know that's something you guys talk pretty heavily about in the pre-day, which
and Breach Secure now has great tools to help you guys with that. Make sure that that you've got the users protected from themselves. The great comment that Art made was that the human factor stuff kind of is a layup for every other product you sell, right? We need encryption because people will fail phishing.
Yes.
So we need to go buy Actifile and encrypt our data at rest because people will fail phishing and click on something they shouldn't have. Yep. We need all of these other safeguards because people. And so that human factor is super important. You're absolutely right. It's one of those things that we actually include a phishing report now if you're a breach secure now partner in the platform, so that you can go over that with your customer and go, hey, look at Frankie over here. He clicked on 20% of the phishing emails that came through. You probably should take away his keyboard, or he's going to get you. Right? And that's that's the reality of the world, right? This is the person. You've got to train them or get rid of them, because they're going to cost you 6 or 7 figures, and it's going to be really ugly. And I told you so. Like, here it is in writing, right?
The other thing that I've actually learned from watching you, Alex, the last I'd say
this probably isn't gonna be good.
No, this is something, and I've taken it and I've implemented it into my daily life. But when they are talking about those pain points, yes, it's great to listen and like make your notes. But one thing I noticed that you do very strategically is that you regurgitate those pain points back to them.
There's psychology in that, right? We want to make sure we've gotten all the pain points from the prospect, and we want to make sure that we've really laid out and it's the first part of knowing that we have a defined next step, right? If I tell you, hey, we've identified this, and this is a problem, and if I come back to you with a solution for those, does that really take care of you, or is there something else that we need to talk about? And regurgitating them, we do the same with budget. We do our bracketing technique, and it's, hey, companies like you guys, you've got a problem here, and I'm expecting you to spend $2,000 to $3,000 to fix it. If I come back to you with that number, can we play ball, or is that outside of your budget? And if you have a budget for them, you can say, where does that fit in your budget? And they'll tell you, $2,000 doesn't fit in my budget anywhere. I need you to be at 1,000. Then we step back and look at the solution and see if we can even fix it for that price. But playing all of that back to them just forces them to come back to us and say, yes, you heard me right. Yes, I acknowledge that you were paying attention, and you're not wasting your time to go build all of these recommendations and put all this work together for something I wasn't going to do anyway.
Yeah. Exactly.
And if you guys ever decide to listen to any sales trainer who's not Chris, because I think Chris is fantastic, but if you ever decide to listen to any other sales trainer, check out Sandler Sales Training. They come across a little dumb Columbo for my taste. So I kind of modify a lot of it and take some little pieces out of it that fit my pompous ass personality instead of the dumb Columbo. But if you can deliver it in a way that comes off as authentic, it's a great sales tactic. It leads to the story that I always tell about that I brought an account manager with me to a meeting one day, and we're meeting with a small school that we hope to close. I laid out the proposal. We talked through, these were all your pain points, right? Yes, but here's how we've addressed them all. I've got great news for you. We're well within the budget that we talked about. Right. And you told me that all your decision makers would be at this meeting, and I think I've counted heads and everybody seems to be here. Did you want to sign the paperwork now, or should I go stand in the hallway while you talk about it?
I mean, I love that approach.
And I heard the air like gasp out of the dude sitting next to me, who was my account manager. He's like, I can't believe Alex just said that. And the room leaned around and kind of all looked at each other, and there were a couple head nods, and the principal said, give me the paperwork, sign it right there. And it was a good sized deal. And this is a small private school with 1,100 students. Like, it was no small potatoes. We walked out in the parking lot. My account manager goes, what kind of Jedi mind trick shit was that? And I went, what's the right kind? But what's the worst thing they were going to say to me?
Go out in the hallway. We need to talk.
or we can't make that decision today. At which point I get to go, okay, would you like to set a follow-up appointment for Tuesday or Friday? Because I would hate to get stuck in a place where I have to chase you. It wouldn't be fun for you. It wouldn't be fun for me. So let's just agree that you'll give me an answer, and I'll go my way. You'll go your way, whatever. So, all of this plays into, and this is where Sandler's so solid. Like, they give you all the pieces to build that far and get to a point where you can confidently say something like that. And it's not everybody's personality, right? My account manager says I could never say that. I said, good. Then you say to them, are you guys prepared to make a decision today, or would you like to schedule a follow-up? Mm-hmm. Right? That's way easier. It's way more mellow. Yeah. People do business with me because I'm super transparent and I say dumb stuff, and that's okay. If you're not that human, don't try and be that human. And we're big on that on our platform. Like, bring your personality, bring your DNA, bring what makes your MSP special, load it into our platform, and let us automate it, make it faster, make the wheel rounder, make it deliver easier to your customers. And you don't have to be somebody else just to sell out of our platform, to use our platform to do your quarterly business reviews and strategy for your customer. It's about bringing what makes you unique and putting it out in a faster and more efficient format.
Yeah.
So that's actually kind of a good transition into how we build this thing. right now we've got data that's scattered in APIs all over the place, right? At my MSP, it was in Automate, it was in Manage, it was in IT Glue, it was in Warranty Master, it was in Audit for IT. I used that for all my sales presentations, and it wasn't in terrible tools, but it was everywhere, right? My risk was over here, my assets were over here, my budget's down here, can't find anything. And then we need to talk about what your format looks like. Are you today bringing it in a PowerPoint? Are you making a PowerPoint? Are you making Excel docs? Are you making Word docs? Some of that we can import, some of that we can steal for you, kind of slurp it up into our tool and let you present your stuff right back out. But if you've got it in all these different formats, and do you have a combination of formats, right? Because I used to get patch reports in PDFs, and then or asset lists in Excel, and I'd have to try and cobble it all together, and it looked terrible. So how do we take all those different formats and put them together and make it look good? Because Audit for IT is beautiful. So is ScalePad's report. But when you turn from one page to the next, you go, that's not even the same thing. Where do these come from? They don't all have the same logos in the same places. They don't use the same color schemes. You get into everybody's different visions of all of this. So we bring all that into one standard platform. And then, the last question is, what resources are required to set you up for success here? Is your QBR process one that only you can do? If you're the owner of the company and you're the only person there who can give a QBR, how far does that scale? Right?
Yeah, and not at all.
And if your process is manual, a lot of it probably lives in your head. And I know a guy who runs a $2.5 million MSP, and he came to me and said, I kind of laughed when you built this thing and you showed it to me. And I went, yeah, it's cool. It's neat and all, but I do it all in spreadsheets and I got this under control. And 2 years later, he came to me and said, I've hit my breaking point. I can't do them all anymore. And I've hired 2 different people, gave them my spreadsheet method and tried to set them up for success. And they both failed. And that tells me that I'm better at Excel than I thought I was. And there's a big gap between me and average. And these average people who are average at Excel can't do the tables and stuff that I've got that are calculating budgets and doing all these things. It's great that he was able to build all that himself, but it doesn't scale. So what we want is to remove complex spreadsheets, remove the barriers to being able to delegate a lot of this, standardize it enough that you can actually delegate it. And I'll tell you guys a story. We have a partner who has delegated this so far. He uses interns, a sales assistant, and a bookkeeper to do all the prep work.
Whoa.
He literally gets his documents 15 minutes before he goes into the meeting. He doesn't touch it ahead of that. And he's got such a smooth process built that it's just click, 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 click. And as part of this, I will share with you guys at the end today the standard operating procedure that he uses, a little bit changed, a little bit standardized, taking out a little bit of the custom stuff that they do. But I'll share with you a copy of that you can take back to your MSP and kind of customize and tweak on, because he lays out every single step. He assigns it to a human, talks through how to do it in ConnectWise and all that kind of stuff. It's a pretty straightforward little checklist. But I'd like each MSP to take that as an exercise to just go run through that back home and make sure that they're delegating the components of this that can be. And you'll not get, he's another outlier like Raj. So you won't get to where you only get it 15 minutes ahead of time. But if you can get somebody to do the first hour's worth of work, so you only have to do the second, guess what? You just cut in half the amount of time that you're spending. And you've moved all of this down to a tier 1 resource as opposed to the most expensive person in the room. And that helps your margins incredibly.
Yeah, I mean, and I love that you say that, because Chris, as you've heard, can you guys still hear me? Alex?
Yep.
Oh, okay. Sorry, I thought I froze for a sec. But that's something that, Chris Weiser says all the time, is master the strategy, delegate the execution, because there's no way, if you think about,
I like that.
If you are a CEO or you're a higher up at a company, how much is your time worth? How much is 1 hour of your time? Put a dollar amount to that and think about, okay, that times 10 is how much time I'll call it wasting on putting all of this together.
And how many tasks am I doing? Yeah, that don't equal that value. Yep, absolutely. So with that said, let's hop in the platform real quick. And I want to just kind of show everybody, we talked a little bit about the prep work and things that go into this, but if you're new to Lifecycle Insights and you haven't seen it, I know we got a lot of pros here, so I won't spend a lot of time on this. But what we start with is those data components that we were talking about, right? So we do a lot of integrations. If you have IT Glue, sometimes it sits at the top of your integration stack, but it could just as well be that your PSI sits at the top of your stack. So we integrate to IT Glue and ConnectWise Manage. We also do Autotask, Synchro, and Halo PSA. So if you're using any of those platforms, we can pull enough data to automate large sections of your QBR. We then supplement that data and improve it with data from companies like Microsoft 365, LionGuard, and Breach Secure Now. So Microsoft 365, we're going to supplement your users. We're going to show you what license is assigned to a user, when the last time they logged in was, help you kind of sanity check and double check some of those tickets to retire users that maybe never got closed properly. LionGuard gives us all kinds of cool data. It hooks us into G Suite. It hooks us into KnowBe4. Tells us about Chromebooks and Google managed devices. Tells us about Azure AD managed devices. So it tells us about some stuff that isn't sometimes very well documented in our PSAs. And then Breach Secure Now, of course, brings back that human component and shows us, hey, here's the guy who clicks on all the phishing links. Here's the guy whose password was found on the dark web. Here's the security state of your entire organization. Here's the girl in accounting who doesn't take any of her cybersecurity testing. So we don't know what her standing is. We just know she doesn't care about it very much. And you can now bring that into a real human conversation. So we're supplementing data with all of data points with all of those. And then we go one more step and do warranty lookups for Dell, HP, Lenovo, and Microsoft Surface, as well as Cisco and Cisco Meraki. And we're going to be adding some more to that list as we go in the coming months. So, all of this is continuing to be added to. There'll be additional integrations and features being built out. But we take all these data points to start with, because we don't want you to have to double enter everything. We start with the data you already have. And this is that whole, if you have to do it twice, automate it. So I know everything I need to know about your assets from up here. I will take those assets and I'll apply policies to them. So here's where I say every workstation that I replace for my customers is average $1,000. Well, maybe I've got a customer who spends more than that on a workstation, but they plan to keep them longer. The other customer, the default was 60 months, and this customer's keeping them for 72. This gives me the ability, just knowing what assets you own, to build you a 5-year budget like that. And you never have to do anything to move anything around in the budget. And all this data existed. We had it all in our PSAs and ScalePad and all these other places, and we couldn't stitch it together, right? Yeah. That was the piece that was missing. So our data analytics is what's really out here. Business intelligence is really what's out here pulling it all together. I'm not going to spend a ton of time talking through the individual reports with you guys, but just know, we've got the security awareness reports. We've got the risk assessments. We can do any and all of that for you guys. Right here in the platform, you can literally run out here and score a risk assessment and, run your client through 75 questions or whatever, and red, yellow, green kind of set up where they are in their environment. But what I want to talk about today is how we can automate the building of the final deliverable to your customer, because all the stuff that I just mentioned, that's the stuff you can delegate. Yep. Any employee in your organization can go through and say, are we doing an asset inventory for this customer? There should be somewhere where we can go to look for that. If we have LionGuard, if we're deploying agents and scanners and searches and stuff, that's probably green, right? Life is good. Internet security appliance, is that one? Is it happy? Are we good with it? Well, I can look at my short scoring instructions and they'll tell me whether or not it's good. And I can go out and have anybody assess whether or not we're in a good place on that particular piece. So what we want to talk about, knowing that we can delegate the majority of this, is how to put it all together into something that our clients can use and that we can use with our clients. So what you'll see here is that we can either pull up a template. So here's a template that I built already last time I was talking to some partners here, or you can use a much longer template. I have one that I use as kind of a sales demo a ton, and you see it's got 12 or 14 reports on it. It's got a ton of stuff. I think for most folks, we should start small and iterate. So what I'm going to do for today is build a brand new QBR from scratch, and we're going to do it in less than 10 minutes. So love it. This is what I want you guys to see. Now, we talked about this. We want to start with an agenda template, right? That was the first of our 5 components that we said we don't want to live without. So we have a sample agenda in here. You can just come grab it. Nothing needs to be done by you, but tweak it and make it your own. You'll see the section right here. There's client updates and changes. This is where we email the customer and say, hey, I'm gonna have you fill in this section for me. But I would copy all of this into an email. Here's what I want to talk to you about, Mr. Customer. When they give you their updates and changes back, you'll update this document. My favorite thing to lead with after the agenda is that risk assessment template. I like to go in with the summary and say, this is your status quo. Let's start where we are, and then we can talk about what better looks like. So I always go right to an assessment template from there. The assessment summary template's a great place to start. And I'm going to go grab just a basic one, and we'll grab a cybersecurity risk assessment that I just did for my customer, right? And so I've only filled half of this, so part of it's not filled in, and that's okay. But this is a template that I did for my customer here just the other day. Did I grab the right one? No, I didn't. I really wrote this. There we go. because I thought I filled them out. Yeah, there we go. So from here, from the risk assessment, I'm going to go ahead and talk about what it costs to maintain the status quo, right? So this is my budget forecast. I like this spreadsheet view for my long haul budget. So I'm going to go ahead and add a spreadsheet view budget. And this is just a different view. It goes side to side versus up and down. Yep. And let's show them 12 months. I can configure this manually, or I can go use my pre-save settings, but I'll do it all the long way just so you guys can see how hard this is. Okay, so there's my 12-month budget. It was painful. I also want to give them that 5-year budget though. So let's give them a second budget. And we'll format this one the other direction just so you guys can see all the different options. Then we'll go out here and we'll change the reporting options, and we'll make sure that we see a 5-year budget.
Nice.
So this budget says I got 104,000 this year, 101 next year, 102. Then we bump to 112. We go up 10% right there. So this is my, and it's not really terrible for this customer, but it's kind of my oh crap year. And then we drop back to 88. So we can call that out with the customer pretty easily in the conversation. So now I've got agenda, risk assessment, a couple of budgets just to give my customer something to look at. And then I want to get into recommendations. What am I really going to fix? What do I want to improve for my customer? And let's go ahead and add 2 recommendations here. And then we'll jump back to them and fill them out. So I'm going to make 2 recommendations. This one over here is going to be a policy engagement. So we're just going to help them fix a bunch of policies and procedures that they don't have. I'm going to go into Breach Secure now. I'm going to bring back the templates. I'm going to go ahead and mangle those templates and make them more applicable to that exact customer. Make sure that they're actually following what the policy says it's going to take. It's a labor only engagement. I'm going to charge them $1,500. This next one, who knows what it is because it doesn't have a name. I love demo data. So this is the replacement of a bunch of Windows 7 machines and what it's going to do in a 2008 server and what things we can solve for. It looks like it's pretty poorly put together. So hopefully we'll go back and do a little bit better work on this. This was the brand new intern that did this one. In my data environment, in my demo environment, you never know what you're going to get. And then we're going to wrap it up with an executive summary. And I want you guys to see how our executive summaries come together. They are simply a blank text block template. So an empty text block template is this, where I can come in and say, oh, I can put in words, right? I can put in pictures. I can insert just about anything that I want to insert into this. It's not the best editor in the world, but I can come out here and grab just about anything and put it in here. But today I'm going to use one that is pre-baked and pre-built. So we're going to go ahead and add a text block template that's already configured. The purpose of text block templates, though, is for you to be able to bring in things that maybe aren't integrated into our tool, because we integrate to quite a few things and we integrate to more things every day. But everybody here is going to have a tool that they like, that they want to show the customer something out of that didn't come from us. You can screenshot something and bring it in here, or as a MS Word file template, you can bring in a Word-based report that came out of another tool. So we do give you ways to bring in things that didn't come from us. But this is all text. I can just literally go over here and change this. This is a manual, kind of put this together, but these are those, hey, Mr. Customer, here's your top risks. And if I was going to work on anything for the next 90 days, these are the things I would care about. So this is the page I'm going to leave them with to focus on. And guess what? I'm done. Man, it only took 4 minutes.
I know. I was like, you did that pretty fast.
We'll go ahead and say, I've done a few of these. So we'll go ahead and save this. Maybe. Man, my fingers don't work today.
Uh-oh.
Yeah. All right. So we're going to save that. And then we're going to talk about how we present it to our client.
Yes.
The easiest way to present it to our client, if we're going old school and we're actually going out to meet with them, we can click this button. It'll download the entire thing as a Word document. You can see the whole thing kind of build itself out. We'll auto portrait and landscape every page, and you can go ahead and download it and print it. In this new world we live in, we do a lot of these meetings over Zoom. A lot of our partners are saying, hey, Word doesn't present very well over Zoom. I got to copy and paste stuff into PowerPoint. So we gave presentation mode. And what presentation mode does is give you PowerPoint Lite without you having to lift a finger. So now I can meet with my customer. Here's my agenda. Here is your security risk assessment. Here's how you stacked up. Here's your budget forecast. Here's your next budget forecast. And we can walk through all of this without you having to do anything to really prep for it. You just need an internet connection. And then
love it.
Last thing I want to show you guys is maybe there's a situation where you want to come out and show how the customer's improved over time. The assessment comparison report is a great report for that. And this is one where you might come in and say, here's your current status, but here's what your status looked like last time we met with you. And here's how much we've moved the needle for you across your company. And we can literally show them every little thing that we've improved since they started working with us. You can use this report in the QBR process.
Okay.
You can also use this report in the prospecting process. So you go out to your prospect and you run an assessment and you say, hey, look at all these things that are red. If you sign up with me, you'll look like this. And you simply run an assessment, copy it, fix all the greens that you will fix when you go to work with them,
Yep.
and then create this report. It'll take you longer to fill in the first one than to do all the rest of it together. And within 45 minutes or so, you can have a really nice report like this that shows, hey, this is where you stack up. And if you want to leave a leaf behind, if your customer says, oh, this is kind of expensive, I'm not sure I can commit to this today, I'm going to have to shop it. No problem. I'm going to go ahead and leave you this report that shows the headings and the major components that we're going to deal with. But, it would be really wrong of me to leave you this to have somebody else try and find their way through it. It's complicated data. And, probably the best thing for you to do is go out and get those other quotes. And when you're done, call me and I'll come back with and compare apples to apples to make sure that what the other guy's selling you is it really matches up to the end result that we're going to get you. And we'll have that conversation when you schedule some more time with me. So
Absolutely.
you do have the ability to strip your secret sauce out of there because you guys pay a lot and spend a lot of time building your secret sauce. We don't want you to go give it away to somebody just for the $500 they paid you for an assessment or, for those kind of things. So let's make sure that we use that to our advantage.
Yeah, definitely.
So that's the platform. I mean, it's pretty simple. There's a lot to it. But really all it's about is how do we make it faster? How do we make it scalable? And how do we give you a repeatable delivery so that it doesn't matter if I'm doing the work or Lisa's doing the work, or we hire this guy named Chris to come in and mess everything up. Like, it doesn't really matter who we give it to, right? They've all got the same guardrails and they're all kind of rowing in the same direction so that we get the same result, the same output. Because at the end of the day, what we really need is for our prospects, for our customers, for the folks who want to experience how we do business. We want them to get the My MSP way every single time.
Yep.
That's why we're so big on process and we care about that stuff so much. So that kind of leads us to some takeaways that we're going to leave you guys to take home today. One of these, I'm going to go put it in chat. If I can figure out how to chat with everyone.
Oh, you just have to change it to everyone.
Yeah, I was about to send it to just panelists. So this is that standard operating procedure document that we put out there that we came up with when we worked with one of our prospects or one of our customers, and it was a fantastic experience. We've gone over it with several large groups and kind of talked through it and tweaked through it. Understand that when you download it, you're going to see job titles and positions there that don't exist in your MSP. You still wear 6 hats, or maybe you don't wear any hats, and you've got all of this delegated. And you've got more positions that are listed there. So your goal should be to go down the left-hand column and fill in what actually matches the actual matching position in your organization. And then maybe to go down the right-hand column, and we kind of debranded all of the products and services. And you probably want to go back there and list your specific product or your specific portal that they have to log in to go to do something. You'll log into Breach Secure Now and get these reports, log into, Huntress and get this report, or log into Actifile and run this scan. So you'll want to add more data and more detail to make it specific to you, because we can start really big in general, but until you really dial it in and the more detail you give, the easier it is for you to be hands off, kind of step back from it and not have to worry about it anymore.
Yeah, I mean, this is all about making your guys' lives easier, as you've heard Alex say probably over and over again.
100%.
We don't want you to spend 10 hours on this. That also causes you guys to have procrastination and not doing QBRs and not doing them as often as you probably should be. Understandably so, right?
Yeah, right. Well, and I would guess that 80% of the business owners on this call work 50 plus hours a week, right? I'd like to see them find a way to delegate some of this stuff to a less expensive resource. Number one, to make sure it gets done every time, because we know as business owners, it's hard to hold ourselves accountable. So if you can delegate it, you can hold somebody else accountable and make sure that it gets done. You can go have those meetings. Those meetings help you make more money. That money will help you hire more people. So that, guess what? You can buy your way into some free time. Because at the end of the day, as MSP owners, we are notoriously bad at running the business we want to own. And the business you want to own is also the business somebody else wants to buy from you one day. So learn to build the business you want to own, the one that takes you 35, 40 hours a week to run, that lets you get away and turn the phone off and go take a vacation. And you do that by building process, delegating things, and then finding the restraint to help yourself get out of the way of your employees. And that was the hardest part for me. So I'm probably projecting that a little bit on some of these guys, but I'm sure some of them suffer from the same kind of thing that I did, where it's hard to let go, right? But the process component of all of this will really set you guys free.
I mean, and you have to be able to like detach and be able to delegate at some point. I know it's uncomfortable, especially at first, because you want to have, your hands on every little thing going on within the business.
Especially if you're a perfectionist like I am.
Yeah.
I'm difficult. Marnie will tell you exactly how difficult I am to work with, right? And I've got 3 amazing business partners, and I'm still struggling to let go and not see things as they roll out the door. So totally get it. And then I do want to address the last couple of things on there, and then we can just kind of chat. But feel free to connect to me on LinkedIn if you've got questions about this. This is a topic that, whether you're a customer or not, I'm happy to have any conversation around, the sales, the account management, the customer success and customer retention. Happy to have any conversations you'd like around that. I do a lot of stuff on LinkedIn, so feel free to find me there. If you're questioning the platform, or if you want to learn more, lifecycleinsights.sucks. If you weren't at IT Nation, you missed us in pink shirts. We wear all kinds of ridiculous stuff, but we did up a whole website on it, and we'll be keeping that up for at least through the end of the year.
Nice.
And continuing to add customer testimonials and things there. They'll tell you exactly how terrible our product is. Like, the fact that we kicked some poor fella into way too high a tax bracket. And now he owes Uncle Sam more money. We got one customer complaining that he had to hire more people, and now he has to pay extra people all this extra money for all the projects that he's doing. And it's a terrible thing to grow your business, with a fairly easy process. If you want a free trial, lifecycleinsights.io, there's a yellow button right in the middle of the page. Just click on it and go grab your free trial. And then if you are a 7-figure elite member, your first 5 clients are free forever if you register inside of Chris's portal. So make sure you go to the 7-figure portal. If you have questions on that, Lisa and her team can help you figure out where to get started. But make sure you register through there, because Chris will pay for your first 5 clients forever. And that 5-client license also comes with unlimited prospecting assessments. So you can go out and do these risk assessments for everyone who you're prospecting with, and using Chris's tools and Chris's templates. So that's the 10,000 foot overview of all of that. And with that, we probably should open it up to questions, because we haven't shut up long enough to let anybody else talk.
No, it's good. It's good. I mean, this has been a good chat. I mean, obviously, and for our 7-figure elite clients in here, this is something we talk a lot about heavily, because it's all about getting in front of that conversation. But we also want to make sure this area of your business that is scalable. Like I said, master that strategy, delegate the execution. It might be uncomfortable at first, but you've got to do it if you want to scale. It's a way of life, and everybody kind of deals with it differently, but this is how you're going to be able to scale, take the next step up, get past even 7 figures, build up to 8 figures, right? Good problems to have.
And we work with quite a few MSPs using our tool that are well into the 8 figures. We have several $25 million MSPs working with us, a couple, I think, that are upwards of 50. So, this is a matter of process will set you free. And you've got to spend the time to build the process. It's the whole, and it's so cliche, like you've got to spend the time to work on the business instead of working in the business. And like I said, so cliche, but the reality is, until you build the process, you can't give this task to somebody else. When I was in my early 20s, I worked for a manager, an assistant. I was an assistant manager at Foot Locker. And my manager, every time he went to do something, he went, "Come over here, let me show you how to do this." And I was a dumb kid, I was like, why are you making me do all your work? You don't do anything. You just stand over my shoulder and watch me work. And he says, "I'm not promotable until I'm replaceable. So I want to go be a district manager somewhere. Until you can step up and fill my shoes, I can't go do the next thing." And as a business owner, you guys aren't really promotable anyway. But your promotion is that you go get to do the higher level strategic things. You get to take time off. You get to do the stuff that's next level, instead of doing the stuff that can be handled in reality, a large portion of it, by a tier 1 or an intern or a specialized account manager who can really deliver your message if you have enough setup, if you have enough prep.
Yeah, no, I mean, and that's like, everybody wants to take a vacation, right? And then there's too many MSP, right? Yeah. We all want to take a vacation, but
especially
there's so many there's so many MSPs I've talked to. I'm like, when's the last time you took a vacation? The answers I hear 5 years ago, 7 years ago, 3 years ago, I'm like, oh my gosh.
Yeah, I went 7 or 8 years without taking more than a 3-day weekend. And, I thought IT Nation was my vacation.
It's not a vacation.
Flying to Orlando to go to a conference and learn for 2 days was my vacation. And, it's not a way to run a business. Like it's a miserable way to run a business. And I'll just say, as I got ready to exit, we had worked on process and to remove me from things and those and by the time we got done, I had clients who had been with us for 3, 4, 5 years that I didn't even know. I'd never met them. I'd talked to them on the phone once. An account manager, they were a referral. My account manager had gotten really good at asking for referrals at the end of QBRs. We walked through that process, and I'm happy to talk through that process another time with you guys. But he'd gotten really good at it, and he went to an attorney downtown that we were working with. He did their QBR. He said, "Did we deliver value to you today?" Yeah, man, this is awesome. This is exactly what I needed to see. Perfect. Is there anybody else in this row of old houses sitting on the green here next to the courthouse that might see value in what we talked about today? Actually there is. And they walk in next door, they walk him across the street and introduce him to some customers. And, we had a customer who had been with us 5 years that I had never met when we sold the company. And I had to call the guy and tell him that I had sold the company. And he goes, "That's really nice, but is Ross still going to be there?" He didn't even care that I was gone, right? And that's the company that you want to own. And it's also the company that has more value when you get ready to leave. Right?
Absolutely.
And that's the thing that I think can really move the needle for most of these MSPs.
Absolutely. And if any of y'all have any questions, feel free to type those in the Q&A or in the chat. I am like, is everybody still here? Are we all still awake?
Just to make sure everybody's awake.
I know. Air horn under your chair. Oh, Marissa's awake. But yeah, if you guys have any questions.
Marissa listens to me babble all the time. She's used to my soapbox chat.
But yeah, if you guys have questions, connect with Alex on LinkedIn. Connect with him on Facebook too. He's all over Facebook. He's pretty active in the IT and MSP business owners group. So if you guys have questions in there, Alex and Marnie are both very good about making sure they get those questions answered for you. If you need to jump on a call with them, they're available for that. For any of our and for the 7-figure elite clients, Lifecycle Insights has open office hours just dedicated to y'all every single week. Every Tuesday. Yeah. So make sure if you guys need help with this or have questions, don't hesitate to call Alex or Marnie or jump on those office hours that we have for our elite clients.
Tuesday, 1 p.m. Eastern. If you don't have that, hit me on LinkedIn and I'll give you the invite or send an email here.
Yep. Same here. You feel free to reach out to me as well, and we'll make sure to
all of your elite members. Yep. And if you're not an elite member and you're just checking it out, or if you're an existing customer and you're considering the elite program, they do give it away for us. They do give those first 5 clients away for free. All of our existing customers, 7-figure and not. We also have another a workshop that we do every Friday. So there's a lot of opportunities to engage with us. If you feel like you just need a little more nudge to get this process moving, we'll do one-on-one coaching. We'll do kind of white glove onboarding and kind of help you get your first session out there. Myself, Amy, Marnie, all of us are available to see you guys. And other than that, we'll see you in Dallas.
Yeah, looking forward to it. If any of you are interested in coming and hanging out with Alex and Marnie live and in person.
I'm more fun hanging with than she is.
Yeah, I'm like, you might get Captain Obvious again. I'm not
super
sure.
And Marnie will be in bed at like 7:30, so
Yeah, so if you want to really hang out, come hang out in Dallas with us. It's going to be the 3rd week of May that we're going to be out there. We'll make sure to get you guys links if you need those. Yeah. But as always, thank you so much, Alex. It's always a pleasure to chat with you. Always great content, stuff that's really important for these MSPs. So make sure you guys check out Lifecycle Insights. Come join us in Dallas in May. We're going to have a lot of fun, kick our boots up, get a little crazy with Alex. But yeah, looking forward to it. And again, thank you guys so much for the support that you give to our clients and to the MSP community.
Happy to help.
All right. Well, with that, I hope you all have a fantastic rest of your day. And Alex, I look forward to seeing you in person real soon.
Yeah. Travel safe.